In this tutorial, we're going to look at the Move tool. It's one of the most useful and flexible tools in Sketchup, so it really pays to know all the things it can do. When you start using Sketchup, you hear a lot of talk of blue axis, green axis, red axis. What that actually is a way of defining the three different dimensions. It's like height, width, and length. So for example, the blue axis is basically referring to the up-down direction. The green axis and the red axis are both horizontal, but one is going at a direction 90 degrees to the other. Now it depends obviously on where you're looking at it from, but in this case, if I rotate a little bit, you can see that the red axis goes from left to right, the green axis goes towards us or away from us. Now those are important to know because when you move something, then you often need to move it perfectly vertically or perfectly horizontally. Now to demonstrate that, I can just pick up this cube by its corner and move it that way, and Sketchup will tell me I'm on the green axis. I can also pick it up by the corner again and move it upwards, and it'll tell me I'm on the blue axis. That means I'm moving perfectly vertically. And similarly, I can also move on the red axis. That means I'm moving perfectly horizontally. It's always a good idea to select the thing you want to move before you actually move it. So, well, first I'm going to zoom in. It's always a good idea to pick up the object you want to move by a certain point, either the end point, or you could also pick it up by the midpoint. Now, in some of the more complicated models, it's actually quite difficult to get the object to move in the axis that you want it to move in. So if that becomes a problem, what you can do is use the arrow keys on your keyboard. If you press the up arrow on your keyboard, it'll lock the movement into the blue axis. Now you can see that I can move my cursor wherever I want now, and the only place that my piece will move is in the blue axis. And if you look closely at the cursor, you'll also see there's an additional, what look like two kind of diamond shapes next to the cursor. So to undo that, I'll press it again. Now say for example I want to move my line only in the green axis. I can press then the left arrow on the keyboard, and now I can move it only in the green axis. Similarly, if I press the right arrow, I can move it only in the red axis. So sometimes that's really useful, not always, but it's a good thing to know that's available. It's also important to know that you can actually define the distance that you move something. So for example, if I want to move this rectangle here, and I want to move it in the blue axis, so I'm going to pick it up by the corner here, and I want to move it up by 300 millimeters. So I'm going to just click once, drag it up in the direction I want to move it, and then instead of trying to guess, I'm just going to type in 300, hit the enter key. I now have it moved exactly the distance I want it to be moved. Now the Move tool can also really help me if I need to duplicate something. Say for example I've spent quite a lot of time making the object that you see here on screen, and I need some additional copies of this. Then I don't need to make the whole thing again. All I need to do is use the Move tool. So first I need to select it and choose the Move tool. Now I want you to look closely at the cursor, and what I'm going to do is press the Option key on the Mac keyboard, and that'll be the Control key if you're on a PC, and you'll see that a little plus sign appears next to the cursor. Now what that means is that when I move this, I'm going to make a copy of it. So I'm going to pick it up again by a corner, click once, and then I'm going to drag, and you can see that I'm moving on the red axis and I'm dragging out an extra copy of my object. Another really useful thing to know about the Move tool is that you can actually use it to take certain details from one part of your model to another, so you don't have to recreate them by working over again. That'll save you a lot of time, especially when you're making more complicated models. Now you'll see in this model I have a long rectangle with a complex hole cut in it, and I have a basic square. Now what I want to do is take this hole and I want to make the same hole in this. Now I don't need then to draw the same thing again. All I need to do is the following. Now I'm going to zoom in on here, and what I need to do is make sure that I select all of the lines which go to define that hole. So now they're all selected. What I can then do is take the Move tool and pick up the selected lines, and I'm going to make sure that I pick them up by the middle point. I'm going to press the Option key. That means I'm going to duplicate the lines. And now I'm going to click and drag. And you can see now SketchUp's telling me that I've got my copy of that on the face of this other object. Now, because I want this in the middle, I'm going to drag up here and touch the edge and move along until I snap to the midpoint, and then I'm going to drag down, and when I've found the point that I want it to be, I'll let go, and now I have my shape in place. All I have to do then is use the push-pull tool to make the hole, and I have exactly the same hole there as I have in the other piece. Now, it may go without saying in SketchUp, but really the Move tool requires you not only to know about the tool, but it also requires you to do a little bit of thinking ahead before you actually use it. Now, you can see on the screen here I've got these kind of pieces which interlock with each other. I'm going to put them together, and by putting them together I'm going to show you exactly how to use the Move tool very accurately. So I'm first going to put this middle piece and attach it into this side piece here. So I'm going to move my view around a little bit so that I'm in a convenient place. Now I need to think, and to make these two fit accurately together I need to make this corner here lock onto this corner here. So I'm going to select the thing I want to move, take the Move tool, and make sure I pick it up by that corner, and it says Endpoint and Component. So click on it once and move, and then I'm going to zoom in so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. And it's going along that line now until it snaps to that endpoint there. I now know that I've made those two pieces snap accurately together. Okay, I'm going to show you one more time. So select the piece you want to move, choose the place you want to pick it up by, and that's this point here in this case, and then move it to the place you want it to be. Now I need to zoom in so I can see really what I'm doing, and I need to make the point that I've picked up my piece by snap onto that corner there. And the final piece of the puzzle goes together like this. So I'm going to pick this piece up by that point there and move it into position just here. And there you see I have a perfectly assembled puzzle.